Hi, everybody. My name is Judy Mark. I am the president of Disability Voices United. We are really honored that you've joined us today to talk about Proposition 50 and why it's important for people with disabilities. We are a nonprofit organization. And in case you were wondering, nonprofit organizations are allowed to endorse propositions. And we have at DVU endorsed Proposition 50, and we feel it is really critically important that we work hard as the disability community to get it passed. We are an organization directed by and for people with disabilities in the state of California. Over the course of today, you will hear from a range of different speakers. We are hearing from somebody from the Prop 50 campaign, as well as we are hearing from people with disabilities themselves, family members, and professionals in the disability field about why they think Prop 50 is important to our community. We are going to be sharing a lot of information with you in the chat. So before we get started, actually, I want to remind everyone to pick their language. You can do that by going to the bottom of your screen, going to the globe, and selecting whichever language. We are offering English and Spanish today. Obviously, we also have ASL interpretation, and we will be offering Q&A at two different points today. After our first speaker speaks, who is Erin Reynoso from the Prop 50 campaign, she will take a few questions, and then we will go back to our other speakers because Erin needs to leave to get the hard work done to get this proposition passed. I did see Cynthia come in, Kaylee, in case you didn't. So if you could make her co-host, that'd be great. And we are going to get started right now. Oh, what I should also tell you that at certain points over the course of this meeting today, we are going to be giving you an opportunity to get involved, to work with the disability community to get Prop 50 passed. And we are having in-person phone banking and texting. We are also having offering you opportunities to do it from your own home. We are not going to give you lists of people who are total strangers to you. We are going to encourage you to call 20 people in your phone book. And we're going to talk a lot more about that in a little while. So the first speaker that we have is Erin Reynoso. She is from the coordinated campaign of Proposition 50. We are so thrilled that she has joined us today. She's going to share her screen and tell you a lot more about the proposition. Take it away, Erin.
Thank you so much, Judy. Okay, let me just share my screen.
Erin, before you share your screen, can I share in Spanish so that way they get the default English?
Absolutely.
Just give me 1 second. Okay, and you can share your screen now.
Okay. All right. How's that?
So I'm so sorry to interrupt you again. So for folks, do we have the Spanish up on the screen yet?
I think it unshared. Let me share it one more time.
Okay, go ahead and, okay, so we may need to, because we want to make the most recent screen to be your screen, Erin. So why don't you unshare real quick? We're going to share back the Spanish. We do these all the time, and so we know the order in which things need to happen. Okay, there's our Spanish. And then as soon as that, okay, now go ahead and share your screen, Erin. And so, Kaylee, if you could change your title, your name to Spanish slides. And then so for those of you who want to see the Spanish slides, go to the top of your screen. And right now you're going to pick Kaylee, but you can also pick Spanish slide screen. There we go. And the rest of us are seeing English. So go ahead, Erin. Now you can talk. Sorry about that.
Awesome. Honestly, I'm obsessed. This is actually the first time I've learned that you can share two different screens in two different languages. So this is a great learning opportunity for me. So thanks, Judy. Again, yes, my name's Erin Reynoso. My pronouns are she, her. I'm with the Yes on Prop 50 campaign. Specifically, I'm working on the field component or the coordinated campaign for Prop 50. In my regular day-to-day life, I actually work for Planned Parenthood Affiliates of California, so I'm on loan to the campaign from Planned Parenthood. I'm really excited to be here. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Prop 50 and also talk to you about sort of just the different ways we are out working to contact voters. So before I dive in, I wanted to give you just like a little bit of context and overview of the campaign. And just sort of note, we're seeing a lot of enthusiasm for this election and for this ballot initiative, possibly more than I've seen in a long time in the different campaigns that I've worked on. It's been really clear that voters have had enough of the Trump administration's assault on our democracy. We've seen this administration gut our healthcare, attack free speech, and go after our communities. And so, because of that, we've seen a really wonderful outpouring of interest from partners like you all that want to engage with us and coordinate with us on this campaign, which is really wonderful because, since this is a statewide ballot initiative, this is largely going to be a turnout election, and our goal is to reach as many voters as possible in any part of the state. So, a very brief timeline. As you all know, there's been a very short on-ramp to this campaign, just a couple of months, really. And the election is already around the corner. So, yesterday was the deadline for all of the counties to mail out their ballots. So, people are literally voting right now. You may have already voted. If you haven't and didn't know, your ballot may be in your mailbox right now. If it's not in your mailbox today, it should be in your mailbox in the next couple of days. So early voting is happening now. Early voting locations will start to open up soon, and then we'll have Election Day on November 4th. This right here is just our ballot summary. So this is what folks will see on the ballot. And it's fairly simple. Specifically, Prop 50 authorizes temporary changes to congressional district maps in response to Texas's partisan redistricting. So let's talk a little bit more about what it does. First and foremost, it levels the playing field. So Prop 50 was drafted in direct response to Donald Trump contacting GOP states like Texas and others and asking them to gerrymander districts for him. In fact, the initiative would have not even gotten off the ground if Donald Trump hadn't been making those requests. So this is in direct response to his actions. Prop 50 also gives voters the power. So unlike other states and what's happening in other states, it's giving voters the power to make the final decision on whether or not to approve these maps. So in other states, what's happening is all through their legislature, and voters do not have a chance to approve those maps at all. So that is what we are avoiding by having this special election on November 4th. Additionally, Prop 50 is temporary. Again, unlike some of these other states, Prop 50 is a temporary measure. So these maps will expire in 2030, and that's when the California Independent Redistricting Commission will actually resume its authority and redraw the districts just as they were planned to do. So after the next census, the Redistricting Commission will redraw these maps, and that's what is scheduled to happen. And lastly, but I think probably one of the most important pieces to me is that Prop 50 preserves representation. So specifically, these maps were drawn to ensure the Voting Rights Act was not violated and to preserve representation for communities of color. I know there's a great deal of concern about Texas's maps and the representation for communities of color there. California took great care to make sure that that was not going to take place. And in some cases, some representation in different districts was actually improved. And lastly, again, this is an urgent measure. We've seen this administration on a daily basis attack democracy again and again. And if we don't make every attempt to curb his power, he will only continue to escalate. I think we're seeing it in real time. Prop 50 gives us a chance at a fair election in 2026 and helps provide a much needed check on Trump's attempts to consolidate power. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're doing to win. So obviously, this is a huge campaign, statewide campaign with lots of different components. But as I mentioned at the top, I primarily work on our field campaign, which I think is just one of the most critical pieces of a campaign, where we're really out there talking to voters, so voter contact. And a lot of this campaign is a coordinated field effort. And we have a very short on-ramp to pass this ballot initiative. So we're working really hard on coordinating as many organizations, as many individuals as possible to make sure that we're all moving in the same direction. And you see some of those organizations listed on the screen right now. This is just a few of many, because we've seen, again, broad support. And we've been organizing with more than 235 different partners throughout the state and even outside of the state. We've had an outpouring of organizations from out of the state contact us and ask how they can get involved, which is honestly a very unique position for California to be in. Typically, California voters and volunteers are contacting other states to talk about how they can help them. We've seen a large outpouring of support from other states about how they can help us. And again, this is a statewide ballot initiative. Every single person and every single voter really can make a difference in this election. So a little bit of an overview of our field program. Again, thanks to all of the support, we've been able to build out a very robust volunteer and paid field program, one that we think might end up being one of the largest in history, in state history. Our volunteer program is led by several different partners, and it definitely makes up the bulk of our field campaign. We're very proud of it. First, the California Democratic Party, who's running 13 different phone banks, including 2 in-language Spanish phone banks a week, an AAPI phone bank every week, along with canvases. And I think this weekend they have canvases coming up in um, more than half the counties in California. I think there's something like 146 canvases already scheduled throughout California. We're also working with Team Newsome, who's leading with a lot of our out-of-state partners. Again, like I said, we've had a lot of outpouring from out-of-state partners that want a phone bank or help us with texting. And then, of course, we have our labor partners like the California Teachers Association, SEIU California, the Labor Fed, and many nonprofits like Planned Parenthood Affiliates of California, Reproductive Freedom for All, and other nonprofits throughout the state who have C4s and are interested in engaging. Altogether, we've seen, thousands of volunteers come out and take over thousands of shifts to talk to hundreds of thousands of voters and outreach to even more than that. We're knocking on doors and making phone calls every day to have these voter contact and direct voter contact conversations. In addition to the volunteer field program, we also have a paid field program, and that paid program is specifically focused on delivering culturally competent and in-language voter outreach for Latino, AAPI, and Black communities. And we're doing that work with 45 different organizations, including Black Women for Wellness, CHRLA, Chinese Affirmative Action, and many, many more. And a lot of their work includes what I mentioned already, door-to-door canvassing, phone banking, town halls, and WeChat and WhatsApp. So it's a variety of different tactics. And the last thing I want to mention before I show you, give you my contact information is our election protection efforts. So we are aware that there may be some opposition out there trying to suppress the vote. This happens really every election. So the California Democratic Party is putting together a plan to make sure that voters feel safe at the polls. And that includes a plan with volunteer attorneys, poll watchers, which is a common thing that the party works with volunteers to fill, and a voter protection hotline. So the voter protection is something that anybody can do if they're interested. And I can give you all the information to sign up for that voter protection and volunteer if you're interested in doing something like that. And we're also just through our scripts and through our different door-to-door activities and phone banking and even our digital work, we're really trying to emphasize the ability to vote safely through the mail and through drop box voting. So last but not least, as I mentioned, this is actually, it says hosting 12 different phone banks, but there are 13 different phone banks every week that the California Democratic Party is hosting. Team Newsom is hosting phone banks. The party is hosting canvassing. And of course, you can contact me. My email is down there at the bottom, though I know Judy is going to tell you about a bunch of different ways that y'all can get involved through Disability Voices United. So I'll go ahead and stop there. I'll stop sharing my screen and see if there are questions.
Thank you so much, Erin. I really appreciate that. Just to let folks know, we are a 501c3 nonprofit, so we do not endorse either political party, any political party. And we also do not endorse political candidates. However, we are allowed to endorse propositions, and we are supporting Prop 50, not because it favors one party over the other, but because we need a Congress that is going to support the funding that we need for our healthcare and for our services. So now we're going to take a few minutes. I know that there's a lot of people who joined us a little bit late, so I want to stop and encourage everybody to pick a language at the bottom of your screen. Choose English or Spanish. And we're going to take a few minutes with Erin to ask any sort of technical questions or any questions specifically about Prop 50 before we start talking more specifically about the disability community's involvement and encouragement to get out and vote. So the ways that you can ask questions is that you can ask them through the chat, and we are focusing on those questions in the chat. And then we're also, if you use the raise hand feature by going to the bottom of your screen, clicking on React, and using the raise hand feature like I just did. So I saw one person had a hand up right at the beginning, and I'm not sure where he went, and not sure if he still has a question. But if folks have any questions, please raise your hand. One of the things that I wanted to clarify with you, Erin, is people who are not registered to vote. We're about to put in the chat. Actually, we just did because we're amazing. Thank you, Kaylee. If you are not registered to vote, you have time up until Election Day. But if you want to be able to get your vote in the mail, you have to register to vote by October 20th. And we put some links in the chat for you. So I know that there's a question in the chat about how Prop 50 will help the disability community. That is not your expertise, but we have a whole bunch of people who are about to answer that. But I'm going to take Sandra. Did you have a question for Erin? You can go ahead and unmute.
Hi, Judy. It's Sandra Van Scotter.
Hi.
So, in addition to registering to vote, I'm pretty involved in going to the different political club meetings. And one of the things I'm hearing is that people need to go in and re-register to vote if they haven't been in there in a while. Update their address, make sure that they're getting the information that they want to get in the mail, because things have been updated in the voting registration system over the last year or so, and they should go in and re-register to vote to make sure their information is current. And that's going to be really important too, to make sure you're getting everything you want to get in the mail about what the measure is about. You get a practice ballot in the mail to make sure that you know what's on the ballot before you fill in your mail-in ballot if you're going to mail in. So it's pretty important not only to register to vote, but to re-register to vote at this time, because what I'm hearing is there's a specific set of rules where a person can be, their voter registration can be inactivated, and the way to reactivate it is to re-register to vote. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Yeah, so Erin, do you know the rules? Like how long? Oh, okay, go ahead, Erin.
So I was just going to say it's always a good idea, and I'm not a complete expert on voting, so I don't don't take everything I say as the absolute rule. The Secretary of State's website has great information on how to vote, how to register, deadlines, like Judy said. But the link I just put in the chat is about checking your status. And it's always a good idea. I totally agree with the person that was just speaking. It's always a good idea to double check your status. And then you can re-register to vote online, like Judy said, up until a certain date. I think Judy said it was October 19th. I think that's about right. And
October
then you
20th.
can 20th, and then you can also register in person at your polling place. But you might need to make sure you bring, your ID and and all of your different things. So always a good idea to double check your voter registration status. The Secretary of State, California Secretary of State makes it easy for you to do that. And I just put that link in there.
Great. And I wanted to talk a little bit. I did receive my ballot in the mail yesterday. Or maybe it was 2 days ago already. And so what your ballots, you will actually get the actual ballot in the mail, not just a practice ballot. You'll get that as well. But you'll actually, if you haven't gotten it yet, you should be getting it the next day or two. And it talks about the November special election on the front side, and then it gives you the actual ballot. And it only has one thing on the ballot, Prop 50. You see right there, I filled in the bubble that says yes on Prop 50. And what's really important is to figure out how you are going to be voting. Because if you are going to be dropping your ballot in a mail drop-off box, which we're going to put in the chat on how you find the closest drop-offs, and maybe this is a good time to put that in if you haven't already, Kaylee, is that you can go in and put your address and find out where the closest drop boxes are for your ballot, but you have to be sure to sign your ballot if you're using the drop-off. And your address, and the date that you have done this. Your ballot can be disqualified if you do not sign it. And you should know that thousands and thousands of ballots every year are disqualified because people rush and do not sign it. So please be sure to do that. Now, if you're going to go vote in person, that's a different story. You will go there. You're not required to bring any ID when you go. You'll give your name at your local polling place. I don't believe you have to turn in your ballot anymore, though. When you show up in person, you're just going to absolutely just vote that day in your local polling place. But everybody needs a plan to vote. You need a plan. And I am recommending to everyone to just drop your ballot off at a local drop-off box. I know it's pretty great and feels democratic to go in person, but what if you get COVID the day before and you can't go out into the community? I'm sending mine in. I only kept mine because I wanted to show everybody at this webinar, but I'm dropping it off tomorrow at a Dropbox. And at least I know. And the other thing you should know is once they receive it, once the Secretary of State receives it, you will get a text. And I get a text and an email saying that they have received my ballot. So you can feel confident that that has happened. All right, let's take a couple more questions. Sheila Gunn, go ahead and unmute.
Just to let you know, my camera's not on because I just had a power outage and it sort of came back, but I don't trust it.
No worries.
And I'm standing out in my backyard. I'm totally blind, and what I want to say is I want to make it crystal clear to every advocate here, and I want the news spread wide, loud, and long, that right now California does not have e-return. E-return allows a voter to vote online, really vote online. Our California system does not allow us to vote online. We can make our choices, but then we have to use a printer. How old, how quaint. And then we have to print it out. I don't even own a printer. and you can only open those files once, so it means you have to take it to a printing place and hope to God you get it right. And then you have to print it out, then you have to sign it, then you have to put it in another envelope, then you have to sign the envelope and send it. That's insane. It's antiquated, and it comes from, I'm sorry, but I feel like it's paranoia, that people are afraid of getting their votes stolen. But if everybody else can vote in their pajamas, I want to be able to vote in my pajamas too. Now that we don't have real local polling places anymore, and they are polling centers instead, and you have to go farther away, and the early voting things are not always convenient, or close by. So it's a hassle to vote not online. It's a hassle not to be able to use a Dropbox, but I don't sign my name every time the same way because I'm totally blind and I can't see it. So I could theoretically get disqualified just because my thing doesn't look like what it did on my ID, but I'm the real Sheila Gunn. There's only one Sheila Gunn.
Right.
So,
So
I
Sheila,
I
Yeah.
beg you, just a minute, I'm done, almost. I beg you to put e-return as part of the things that are important in, well, I don't believe that. Our votes, there's a chat that says the bad thing is vote doesn't count anymore. If we don't vote, we will not count no matter what we do. If we do vote, at least we've tried. I
right.
am so tired of receiving piles and piles of printed things sent by the Democratic Party that I can't even read, and therefore they shouldn't have sent them to Sheila Gunn, and they're wasting trees. And we need to change the voting process. There's all the things we need to do to make voting actually feel like it counts more, but we actually, like physically, we need to change the way votes happen.
We totally agree with you, Sheila. We have advocated for more accessible voting in the past. And it's something that please join DVU's mailing list and be in touch with us because those are the kinds of advocacy that we do on an ongoing basis. Unfortunately, at this time, the voting is not as accessible as it should be. And so we still have to figure out a way to get people out to vote. So, Erin, we have another hand up. Alejandro Socia.
Thank you so much, Judy. Thank you for the presentation. Quick question, and this is just to help when, doing outreach, when people are maybe, might have questions about why it's important to support this. I've talked to some people already who have asked, well, what's the benefit of California doing this if other states, which don't even have to take an election, move forward with redistricting in theirs? So if people take Texas's lead on the red, on the red side, and if people take our lead on the blue side, ultimately, will it be enough to tilt things potentially for 26 especially? And so I guess my question is, from your side, because you are reaching out to you're getting help from other states and stuff, is there a national strategy to try to ensure that as many states that can also look into this process are doing it, so that we at least give ourselves the best shot of getting enough on a national basis, that if we do turn 5 seats blue here, which cancels out Texas, what happens if Florida or Alabama or whatever does it, and New York and Oregon and other places don't? So is there a strategy nationally to coordinate that?
So I'll say that the Prop 50 campaign, and like in my role in the Prop 50 campaign, there may be individuals that are working on this that might be involved in additional strategy at a larger, more national level. But this is definitely a statewide campaign. But I do hear you, and I think that without Prop 50, without passing Prop 50, and with something like Texas or other GOP states moving forward and redrawing their lines, we don't have a fighting chance. Prop 50 does give us a fighting chance to take back the House in 2026 and restore a better balance of power. So without it, it's kind of the case of just like we have to leave everything on the field, right? This is our chance. And if we don't take our chance, then we kind of know where we're going to be at in 26. It's a much harder, steeper hill in some respects. So it is our fighting chance to actually be able to restore that power. It is one step in the direction because you have to pass the ballot initiative and then you have to go and vote in 2026, right? So it's one of multiple steps to sort of rebalance the power in Congress. Not a guarantee, but it does give us a fighting chance.
Thank
And
you,
I do
Erin.
know that there are other states, oh, sorry, one more. I know that there are other states that are looking at how they may be able to redraw lines as well. I think there's a lot of conversations. I haven't seen anything other than Texas actually move forward.
Thank you, Erin. And then I know you need to go pretty soon, but maybe a final word. Somebody asked in the chat, how is Prop 50 going to help the state as a whole?
Yeah, so I mean, I think kind of to what I was just saying. So us passing Prop 50 gives us a fighting chance in 2026. So it creates 5 new Democratic seats that, if elected, helps us restore the balance of power in Congress. And that means if we are able to elect those individuals that are going to support healthcare access, they're going to support reproductive health access. For me personally, that's something obviously very important. They're going to support these different things that are important to our communities. That's going to improve and that's going to help California down the line. But it is one of at least 2 steps, right? So we have to pass Prop 50 and then we have to elect good people in 2026 before we'll be able to restore some balance of power and stop what Donald Trump is doing, which is the dismantling of our democracy, and then be able to hopefully improve lives in California.
Thank you so much, Erin. And I'm going to add to that list is a woman's right to choose. I'm going to add to that list, immigration, welcoming immigrants as opposed to more ICE funding and more ICE raids. And these are all issues that we care about, even though they're not directly disability issues. And so there's a whole range of things that we care about deeply. So thank you so much, Erin. I'm going to let you go back and do the important work that you do. And we're going to, and we thank you. And we're going to be out there registering people to vote, and we're going to be making lots of calls.
Awesome. Thank you, Judy. And thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Thanks, Erin. So we're now going to move into the next part of our event where we're going to be hearing from people in the disability community themselves about why they think Prop 50 is important. So the first person I'm going to introduce is Tina Ewing-Wilson. Tina, many of you know Tina. If you are any part of any of the self-determination work that DVU does, because she's always training and educating people on the self-determination program. And what I want to say before Tina starts, I know some of you are using the React feature with hearts floating up. If you could just pause doing that while Tina is speaking so that she's not distracted. I find it distracting too, by the way, but at least during the next 5 minutes, please don't use those floating emojis. Thanks so much. Take it away, Tina.
I think we accidentally turned off the emojis in the chat and instead and turned on, we flipped it somehow because usually we get that better. So, okay, what I want to talk to you about today is that politics is really confusing. And I use supported decision making. And this morning I called in the troops because I was confused. I got something in the mail that was for no on 50 that like really confused me. And I loved the way that my supported decision-making team helped me. Instead of telling me what to do, they helped me research the issue and figure out what I was feeling. Because the Prop 50 said gerrymandering is wrong. Well, I agree that gerrymandering is wrong. So that made me feel confused. And, but if California was the first one doing this, I would vote no. I would say, no, we shouldn't do that. But we're not the first. Texas did it first. And then another state followed. I think Missouri, but I'm not sure on that. But it's not fair that they're doing that, and we can't just let it go. There's too many things at stake. So I'm not confused anymore because now I understand things better. The Prop 50 no thing said that this wasn't temporary, that it was permanent, but I researched it and it is temporary. It ends in 2030. So that told me they're lying to me. So I just threw that in the trash because if they're going to lie to me, I'm not going to listen to them. I trust Judy. She's never lied to me. I don't know what all it means exactly. I'm not going to pretend I understand the technical stuff. Part of me doesn't like it because it's gerrymandering and that feels wrong, but the other part of me feels like it's the only chance we have, and they've taken so much away from us. We need to take it back. And I like the way that my supported decision team helped me with it because they didn't tell me what to do. They helped me research it and look at it side by side, what the difference is. And once I realized that the no people were lying to me, well, I'm going to vote yes, because their lying isn't fair either. So I don't know.
That's perfect. Thank you so much, Tina.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you. All right, next up is Cynthia and Kaylee. Cynthia is a mom of an amazing young woman with disabilities. And Cynthia is also a proud member of United Domestic Workers, and we have worked a lot with them. She's an IHSS worker for her daughter, Kaylee. So take it away, Cynthia.
Good afternoon, good evening, should I say. Again, my name is Cynthia, and I'm here with my beautiful daughter, Kaylee. I just want to share that as a member of our union, we have been actively working together with the community, people with disabilities, raising our voices, letting people know how Proposition 50 will affect us in regards to our care that we render to our loved ones and services that they receive. Again, I am a provider through IHSS, and I am very frightened, just like a lot more other providers and people with disabilities, afraid of getting the wrong people in office that don't see us, that don't hear our voice. A lot of times, like I said, being a provider, a mom, seeing our voice and fighting for the people that we love, like my daughter, they see numbers. And so I think this whole redistricting process, it gives us a chance. It gives us hope. I'm hopeful. And I know it's not going to happen just sitting down on the couch or just backing away from platforms. We need to be loud. We need to be bold. And we need to fight back and ask people to really consider and to research Prop 50 and know that it affects our voting rights, again, democracy. It affects our Medi-Cal, and Medi-Cal is what funds the IHSS program. And so those are vital services that we would lose if we didn't when Prop 50. So again, it gives us hope that we still have a chance, we have a voice to get the right people elected in office that see us, that know what Medi-Cal is. I want to give an example here. Recently, we had an opportunity to kind of reach out to a representative here in Anaheim. And that particular Congresswoman told us something in June that they were going to be with us. They were fighting along with us. They were rallying with us, and that they were not going to touch our Medicaid and our Medicare. And then days later, like I said, later in June, that Congresswoman made a choice, a devastating choice. And I felt like it was like a slap in the face, because we were told one thing and then something else happened. So I think we need to fight it, and we need to get the right people on board to help us. And if they can't help us, then it's time for them to go. We need to get the right people in there to fight with us and for our loved ones. And so that's where I stand. And I'm encouraging and urging everybody to vote for yes on Prop 50. Like I said, we are knocking on doors. Our union has boots on the ground. We are canvassing. Canvassing has started weeks ago. I'm excited. I got my ballot in the mail, and I've been showing it to everybody. And, as an example, of how we need to raise our voice. My daughter, Kaylee, is excited, and I don't want to hog up all the time, but she'd like to share and say some things as well. Okay.
Hello, my name is Kaylee. I'm blind and disabled. I am with the IHSS, and it is very important for us to vote because we don't want these programs taken away from us. So I also urge everyone to vote. And we have to stand up for democracy, and we have to raise our voices to be heard. It's the only way. And I really want everyone out there to vote and support our community. We need to make sure that we have our voices heard, speak up, and we have to fight for justice. And we need to make sure that we can do it. And I know everyone can't do it alone. Everyone.
That's right. That's right.
And what I'm saying is true. We gotta fight right.
Fight right.
And
I
we
like
can't
that.
give up. So please, everybody, vote yes on Prop 50. This is very important right now. If we vote for the right people, we can have our jobs and everything back the way it is. And we hope that everyone will do well in this country. So please, please vote yes on Prop 50.
Okay, that was great. And I just wanted to add that it would be a devastating situation. I mean, I don't even want to look at what services, like I said, healthcare, Medi-Cal, what changes would be going on. We're seeing some changes already right now. And I'm seeing if these people don't care about Medi-Cal, I mean, what are they saying about people with disabilities? What are they really saying? Basically, it's saying to me that they don't see us.
Mhm.
If they would cut these type of services, it would impact people that are the most vulnerable, and people with disabilities are the most vulnerable, and they need to see us. So I can't say much more than, raise your voice, and raising your voice means getting out there and voting. And so everybody we know, we're letting people know, get out there. This is really an election that is vital. It's vital to our democracy, our rights. The redistricting would affect our voting rights. Like someone said here earlier, our voice. And I don't want that taken away. So while we have it, Kaylee's voting. Are you voting, Kaylee?
I sure am.
Okay.
Certainly am.
Yeah, Kaylee received
That's
her
great.
ballot too. So thank you so much for allowing us to speak on this platform.
Thank you, Cynthia. Kaylee, I love working with you all and look forward to lots more time to work together. Our next
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Dr. Jesse Weller. Dr. Jesse Weller works for a regional center. He leads the regional center, and he will talk about how we need officials to support regional center services. Go right ahead, Jesse.
Thank you, Judy. Hope everybody can hear me okay. I'm going to be mindful of my time and be reading my script so I don't go off. So if you see me looking down, just want you to be aware for today. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. It's refreshing to be in a space filled with people who share a common mission, the belief that every person deserves to live with dignity. When I think about the conversations that have been occurring today, and I know that many of you, the stories I've heard, your loved ones have been feeling fear, uncertainty, stress, anxiety. Those feelings are very real. They're understandable when you're watching, hearing, and seeing things go on. This past year has been an overwhelming amount of uncertainty, leaving many people to wonder, and I've heard it today, around what does this all mean? How does it impact us? What happens next? And I was thinking back earlier this year to Disabilities Week of Action. There was a lot of work being done across the state to rally and fight back against the proposal from Congress to cut $880 billion, if I recall correctly, which we know is over $1 trillion, to Medicaid, what we call Medi-Cal. And those impacts were clear, and they were outlined that could have catastrophic outcomes for people. And it hit too close to home on vital services, supports, independence for people in California and across the country, for people that have disabilities. And so it's been a constant fight forward of human dignity that I think I want to acknowledge and highlight today. We all, I think, remember where we were when we found out the law passed. The meeting I was in when it happened, the meeting room was it was somber. It was during a meeting. And also a lot of tears, and you can just feel the emotion from people about this real life, what this means now that this is passed. I'm sure you're having questions. I'm hearing questions. What's going to happen to my quality of life? Will I still be able to get to work if I lose transportation? What about my upcoming medical appointments? What if I can't afford my prescriptions? What will California do to ensure these entitlements remain in place? All these real questions that people are having. And so if you can step back from a moment and zoom out from a human level, imagine waking up in the world unsure when you wake up in that day, will I have the services, supports, and access that I can rely on? It gives perspective. And if you've had to face that fear about how you're going to make it through the day, it makes it more real. If you haven't had to experience that, it makes it harder for people to understand what's at stake. And I think that's why advocacy matters so much. We know it should not be this difficult to recognize people with developmental and intellectual disabilities and their families. It's just a given that people deserve a full and meaningful life. And here we are having to come together to make it known of the importance. So I say all of this that I recognize that California has come a long way from an era of where people were either encouraged or in institutions in our history to the community-based system that we have today, a system made possible by many of you here. And I really believe it's all on us to protect it. And so Section 4501 of the Lanterman Act makes it very clear that the state of California accepts a responsibility for people with developmental disabilities, and there's an obligation to protect those duties. So I don't see this just as a legal language. I see this as a moral commitment that we have to upkeep. So our system is not perfect. We do have challenges that we have to solve. But me personally, I am deeply proud of be part of the regional center system. I'm proud to work alongside the people who are dedicated and improving it every day. And when I think about the big picture, we're just one piece of a puzzle. So when there are federal decisions that impact how you live your life, it becomes even more important that we stay connected and informed, because information is power. So I encourage you to do your research, check your sources, ask questions, talk to people you trust, be open to learning from others, even those you disagree with. You don't have to change your mind, but every new perspective adds depth to your understanding. The National Voter Registration Act of 1993 affirms that voting is a fundamental right. It is a responsibility shared by federal, state, and local governments to make voting accessible. We heard that's not always possible, especially for underserved communities and for people with disabilities. I bring this up because your input and your vote matters. The leaders we elect make decisions that directly affect your lives, your supports, the future. This is why civic engagement and advocacy and conversations like this are so important. I keep reminding those around me as a broken record that we're going to figure this out. You're not alone. We're a mighty community when we come together. And for those that know me or have known me for quite some time, I'm known for saying kindness matters. Being kind is free and it's powerful, but sometimes it takes more than kindness to create change. It takes action, persistence, and unity. Thank you for having me today, and I look forward to continuing this conversation and standing together in advocacy for doing the right thing.
Thank you so much, Jesse. Really appreciate you being here and lending your voice to this. Our next speaker is Max Sonana. Max is going to be speaking with his authentic voice. You may not always be able to understand every word that Max says. So what he is having us do is to put the words that he is speaking in the captions. So we are manually putting in the chat captions. So right now, I would like to instruct everyone to go down to the bottom of your screen that says show captions, and then click on view full transcript. No, is that right? Kaylee, make sure I'm doing this right.
Yeah, so you should just have to click on the captions just to show captions. You don't have to see
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Just click on show captions. And then if you want to turn it off after Max speaks, you can just click on hide captions. Okay. So take it away, Max.
I'm scared and I should be are so close to my dream of being a Lord and live independently as may I will graduate as a politics major from Pomona College, currently Medicaid funds pay for me to have support when laundry, meal prep, and cleaning. Totaling about $100 a month. And our work is that I work the young adults who cannot afford his own care. The framers intended for representatives to represent regional interests, which means that the representative who represents the most Medicaid recipients of the busy staunches the end of Medicaid instead of actually voting to content from the provider map to help elect the Congress that represents us and protects Medicaid. We cannot just vote Congress out of office because Texas decided to break the norms to keep this Congress in power from 50 is the most limited and effective response to this, as it is only till 2030 and changes only the Congressional map for 50 opponents argue that since California voted for redistricting, we cannot tinker with the part that is not how democracy works. Democracy is that interactive process where we can react to unfair and unforeseen situation with the temporary solution to increase fairness to protect crucial programs like Medicaid as for fifty does Medicaid equals independence for me, but sadly that equation will not exist without prophecy.
Thank you so much, Max. That was beautiful. For those who did not have your captions on, I put all of it in the chat so you'll be able to see it. Thank you. That was phenomenal. Our next speaker is Harry Bruell. Harry is a service provider for people with disabilities and has his perspective as well. Go ahead, Harry.
Thank you. And that was a hard act to follow. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm speaking as a service provider, not representing any individual organization. I've been a provider for the past 8 years, not nearly as long as many of you have been in this system and working in it. Prior to that, I spent 20 years doing advocacy work in a different type of nonprofit, and 10 of those years living in Washington, D.C. And over time, I've had lots of Republican supporters, and I think in California, we've had some great Republican champions of our system, including Assemblymember Mathis, for instance, who just retired from the Assembly and did several important bills for us. So for me, this is not an anti-Republican effort, but it's really an effort to think about what's important here and why do we need to do something like this kind of redistricting. And I agree with what Tina said earlier that I don't really like this gerrymandering either, but there's a really important reason why. And it goes back to how our government works in Washington, D.C., which is that typically to pass any bill, you need 60 votes in the Senate. And rarely does one party control 60 seats, so they have to work together and come up with a solution that works for everyone. So right now, Republicans have 53 Senate seats. They don't have 60. We work together and figure something out. However, there's a big caveat, and that caveat is called reconciliation. And that means there's a special rule that if you have the presidency and the House of Representatives and the Senate, you can pass a special budget bill with just 51 votes in the Senate instead of 60. And that's how the Republicans cut $1 trillion from Medicaid. And frankly, I think we got off easy with just $1 trillion worth of cuts. Because if you read Project 2025, which is available online, and I downloaded a copy and I've read it a couple times, maybe more than twice, and you go through there, you can see what the Republicans in office, right? Not all Republicans, but the ones in office want to do with Medicaid. And several of the things in Project 2025 is how they cut $1 trillion. But other things they have in there are much more drastic. Putting out block grants to every state, doing per capita caps, which means only a certain amount of money for Medicaid for people. Things like lifetime cap on benefits, so that you can only get Medicaid for X number of years before you would be ineligible to receive it anymore. And my fear is if in 2026, we again, in that election, starting in January of 2027, we have a Republican House, a Republican Senate, and we know we're going to have a Republican in the White House, that they will do budget reconciliation again. They'll be emboldened by winning the election again. And I think they will go in and look at Project 2025 and do the rest of the cuts that they want to do. So for me as a service provider, and I think many in this community, it is absolutely vital, absolutely vital that we make sure we have a balanced government in Washington, D.C. where we have at least the House controlled by the Democrats. So we will not have budget reconciliation again, and we will protect the vital source of funding that is the underpinning of our entire system of supports for people with developmental and intellectual disabilities in California. So that's why I am coming out as an individual, as a service provider, and saying how incredibly important this effort is. I want to commend DVU and Judy and the team for taking a stand on this, for Dr. Weller, for the other speakers who came on, for Max who spoke right before me, and for everyone who is working in this effort to make sure that our services that we depend on remain after this next election. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Harry. And you are so correct. If we don't win Prop 50, it is almost certain that things will actually be worse than they are today. So if we think $1 trillion is bad, we ain't seen nothing yet. So
That's right.
all right, our next speaker, actually our final speaker, is Dora Contreras. Dora is a grandma who cares for her grandson with disabilities. Thank you, Dora.
Thank you, Judy, for inviting me. My name is Dora Contreras, as Judy said, and I want to say hello to everybody. Buenas tardes a todos y gracias por venir. I'm a senior citizen, as you know. I'm a proud Latina, as you know. To be exact, I'm Mexican American and the grandmother of a young man with a severe intellectual disability, autism, and epilepsy. I brought him home when he was just 3 years old. He was living out of a car with his mother, homeless. And I have now spent much of my life advocating for his care and dignity. My grandson spent more than half of his life in care homes because I was a single grandma who had to work full time as an educator and a school principal the last 18 years of my life, of my career. I have seen the good and the very bad of those in those homes. I've seen loving caregivers who do their best, but I've also seen systems that fail our loved ones when there's not enough oversight, not enough funding, or understanding of what services can fulfill the needs of our loved ones. I want to thank very publicly the Integrated Community Collaborative for training me 6 years ago on how to advocate for my grandson and be able to remove him from the care home system. Families like mine are left to fight every service, every right, every bit of dignity our loved ones deserve. This is why I support Prop 50. Prop 50 is about fairness and representation. It ensures that our communities, including people with disabilities, their families, seniors like me, and immigrant workers, are not left out when decisions are made. When political lines are drawn unfairly, our votes lose power, and so do our voices. Prop 50 helps protect that voice. As a Latina, I've also witnessed recently how ICE mistreats our undocumented workers. It breaks my heart. My dad was a bracero back in the day. He was illegal. People who come to this country to work tirelessly, caring for our loved ones, cleaning our homes, harvesting our food out in the fields in midday sun and heat. They too deserve justice and respect. I have lots of friends that are hiding out in their homes, not being able to come out of their home because they're afraid. When we allow one group to be treated unfairly, we know that we open the door for all vulnerable communities to be ignored, to be victims, and that includes our vulnerable community, the disability community. Voting yes on Proposition 50 means standing for fairness inclusion, and most of all, justice. It means giving families like mine and so many others the chance to be heard, to be counted, and to shape the future that we all share. We cannot afford to be invisible anymore. We need to come out and support Prop 50 because that's the only way we can change what is going on right now, which is totally unfair and unjust. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dora. That was incredible. I mean, every person who spoke was incredible today. So now we're going to take these incredible words from all of our speakers and turn it into action for all of you. So Disability Voices United is going to work with any other disability organization that wants to work with us to recruit people who have disabilities, family members, and disability professionals to be part of our phone banking and text banking. So we're doing it in a very specific way. We are not going to be working with the phone banking that is being sponsored by the campaign because that is a partisan campaign and we are a nonpartisan organization. As you heard, there have been many Republicans who have been very supportive. Frank Lanterman of the Lanterman Act was a Republican. Bill Emerson, who authored this self-determination law, was a Republican. And so we are a very nonpartisan organization. So we are going to do our own phone banks, which talk about why Prop 50 is important to the disability community, to disabled people, and to their families. So you'll see in the chat that Kaylee put in that you can sign up to be part of our phone and text banking. Your options, in fact, I'm going to open up this and I'm going to share my screen in a second. Hold on in just a moment. So that you can all see what you're signing up for. So you are signing up to participate in calling and texting your friends, your family, your neighbors, coworkers, and others who live in California and are either registered to vote or should be registered to vote, to tell them to vote yes on Prop 50. This is called relational phone banking or relational outreach because you should have a relationship with every person that you reach out to. You will find opportunities to do this in person with other people. We are hosting 4 phone banks in person around the state where we are inviting television and news media to come into those phone banks to show that people with disabilities and their families and professionals who support us are absolutely in favor of Prop 50, so much so that we are doing something about it by calling everyone we know. You will be supplied sample scripts for calling and texting and a form to collect the responses. And we are going to track what people say. You are not going to be providing us with the names of anyone that you contact. That is private information. You will just tell us that you contacted an individual and whether they are registered to vote, whether they have a plan to vote, and whether they're voting yes or no, or they're not sure on Prop 50. So we are asking you to sign up on this form. And I'm going to tell you about the 4 in-person phone banks that we have set up so far. And we are willing to host or to support other in-person phone banks and to actually promote it with members of the media, as long as you have a good number of people there. At least 15, I would say, people who are phone banking. So it starts next week on October 15th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. in San Jose. We will give you the exact address once you sign up, but we are very, very grateful to Prognia for providing space to do this. On October 16th, we will be having a phone bank in Sacramento. We will be providing you with the address. Once you sign up, it will be at a service provider agency. We thank them. On Saturday, October 18th, from 10:30 to 12:30, we will be having a phone bank in Hawthorne, which is in the middle of Los Angeles County, very close to Los Angeles Airport, at Michael's Learning Place, and we thank them for providing their space. And then finally, I'm going to change this time because we have not confirmed the time, but once you get this form, we will have the time listed. We are hosting a phone bank in Palm Desert on October 23rd for those folks in the Coachella Valley. And it will be at the United Cerebral Palsy of the Inland Empire. So we are having these at service provider agencies where disabled people are go all the time. So they will be accessible spaces, and they will be and everybody's going to need to bring your own cell phone, and you will be calling people on your list. You can also check that you would like to host a phone or text banking event, and we will contact you if you sign up. But some of you it may be difficult for you to travel, or maybe you don't live in any of these areas where phone banks will take place, and you can text and phone bank from your home. We will provide you with the script, and we will provide you with the form to respond and tell us how people are voting. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing that. That form is in the chat. We hope that we get hundreds and hundreds of people to sign up. If you want to be on television, sign up for one of the 4 that we have put on that list. We will hopefully get some good media coverage of the disability community coming out and saying, we are not going to face more cuts to Medicaid. We are not going to face more cuts to services. And we are going to fight back fight fire with fire. So we have just a few minutes left. Happy to take any questions either in the chat or in if you want to use the raise hand feature. I'm going to check the chat to see. We were asked a while ago how voting yes on Prop 50 will help the disability community. Well, you heard lots of reasons from all of our speakers. And I'm going to tell you that it is going to get worse if this Congress stays in power or they gain more power. I guarantee you that they're coming with more cuts to Medicaid. And remember that Medicaid pays for regional center services, for IHSS, for special education, for early intervention, and for many nursing services that people with disabilities need and people who are aging. So we see those cuts, but I also think they're going to come for Medicare. So for those of you who are dependent on Medicare, I believe that they're coming for that too. And let me also tell you that we're already seeing the impact now, even though I think the regional center and IHSS services, we're looking maybe sometime next year or the year after where cuts will happen. I know that anybody who is getting subsidies for their healthcare through Covered California, your rates are going to double by January 1st. And I'll tell you how that impacts my son with disabilities. My son is part of the self-determination program. He has 6 staff who care for him 24 hours a day because he does not live with us. And 4 out of his 6 staff receive their health care through Covered California with subsidies. And those subsidies are paid for, or I'm sorry, his health care is paid for through my son's self-determination program. And we do not have room for those rates to be doubled. So if people who are caregivers or support staff for people with disabilities are not getting their own health care, they will come to work sick. They will come to work with contagious diseases, and they will make the people with disabilities they support sick as well. So Jesse was asking whether we are doing the phone banking at a certain time. If you check on that form, you will see that we have very specific times for the groups. But if you want to do it on your own, we totally encourage you to do that. And we would just want you to give feedback on the calls and texts that you made. All right, I see Daniel. Hi, Daniel Antunes. Please unmute.
Hi, Judy.
Hi, Daniel.
Hi, good to see you. Good to talk to you again.
Good to talk to you too.
I just wanted to ask that in my college, Cerritos College, in Norwalk, that there is a club that I'm associated with that does this type of stuff. They just started recently, but they more talk about the speaking out for the rights of people, and this is the exact type of thing that they want to do. So I was wondering if there's any sort of collaboration that we the club we can do with you guys.
Oh, we would love that. So if folks want to be part of what we call relational phone banking, which means people are only calling people they know, their friends, family, anybody who they know in their phone book, they can use the same sign up form that you see in the chat.
Okay,
And
sign up form.
we do not have to have people do not have to have disabilities to join our phone banking. We are open to anyone. So we'd love that, Daniel.
Okay, of course. I'll get on that then.
Wonderful. And Sheila, what would you like to add something?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yikes, I'm now getting all Spanish. I don't understand what happened. Anyway, I raised my hand because I am interested in doing this, and one of the things that I am not good at is reading chats while trying to listen to other people. So I was hoping that you would send the chats out as in I could stop my screen reader, because honestly, this is what happens.
Yeah.
Because people chat and screen reader thinks that I need to know every little thing, and honestly, I can't keep up. Anyway, I work for the Center for Independent Living in Berkeley, and I was frustrated when I had to fill out this form and say either you're a person with a disability or a service provider. I'm like, I'm both. And there is no choice for that. I'm non-binary, dang it. And, and I am, and that's true, but I'm just, so I wanted to say that I know people at the RCEB, and I know Sheridan Nicolau, and I know folks in the Bay Area around the DD community. And I bet that I could find a place, but I don't want to promise because I don't know what their capacities are. But I'm going to tap people on the shoulder, not only to ask if people can vote, but to see if we can get more phone banks. And then the other thought I have is I really think it's going to be a problem for people to get to the polls. And I don't know if I have the spoons myself to figure this out, but we need to figure out ways of getting people to polls, because honestly, if people cannot do that whole crazy thing with the ballot and they aren't able on their own to get a ride or to get organized like that, they're not going to vote. And in last year's election, where we lost brutally on my birthday of all things, Raul, 1/3 of the people who were registered to vote did not vote.
Mhm.
So that was a controversial election, and people had to think about a lot of things and blah, blah, blah. But we really need to get people out to vote. So,
Yes,
yeah.
I agree. Sheila, I would love it if you're able to put your email in the chat. I'm going to reach out to you to follow up with all the amazing things that you just offered. Okay?
Is it info at DV, I can't talk.
Email me at info@dvunited.org and I will remember who you are, Sheila.
I'll do it because I'm signed up through work this time, but I'll give you my home address because I think that, I mean, we're a 501c3 and I don't know how far to go. So, but as a human being, I'm here, and I will let folks at the org know too. And so, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sheila. Appreciate it. So if there are any other questions, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. I'm just seeing lots of love and people saying we're going to make this happen. Thank you to all the amazing folks from the ICC who are here and who have very publicly committed to helping get Prop 50 passed. We want to thank all of our speakers. And I'm going to really put the last appeal to all of you. I know that it's easier to sit on the sidelines, but we want to make sure we are doing everything in our power to ensure that people with disabilities that they continue to have health care and services and that those things are not cut. And the only way we're going to do that is to have a United States Congress who will support us. And you are going to need to get out and vote. But more importantly, you're going to need to tell everyone you know to vote. I can tell you for me, I have pretty political friends. Most of my friends vote all the time. But I am still, because there's only one thing on this ballot, there could be a very low voter turnout. So I am going to text everybody I know. I'm going to email everybody I know. And I'm going to call certain people who might need a ride to the poll, make sure that people get access to their ballots. And it's really important for everybody to pull out all the stops on this. Share things. We also are going to give you little graphics that you can put on your social media. So that would be, it's really important to share it if you're active on social media. All right. Well, I want to thank all of our incredible speakers, Erin from the coordinated campaign, Tina Ewing-Wilson, Cynthia and Kaylee Williams, Dr. Jesse Weller, Max Zanana, Harry Bruell, and Dora Contreras, as well as all of you for joining us today. And please be as strong as you can out there, and we will continue to keep you informed. Take care, everybody. Have a great evening.